Good afternoon, everybody. Just wanted this CPCS Renewal CPD webinar. We've just let a few more people join, so we're still a bit early. Can you, I've got a co-presenter online today, Laura Anderson. Laura, can you just confirm if you can hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Thank you very much. Like I say, we'll just give it a few more minutes. There are quite a few people registered to join, so we'll just give a few more chance for people to join before I start the presentation. Just to remind everybody, as it's a webinar, it's automatically recording. Again, we'll make the webinar available on completion. Email a link out to everybody who registered for today. Very much similar to the webinar that we've already published online. And we'll try and make sure that everyone's got a copy of the slide deck for the presentation as well. So we'll just give it a few more seconds before anyone can join, before I start presenting. As it is recorded as well now, we'll make a start and obviously people can review the webinar and I can recap anything else what we've done. Again, just to check, this should now be coming up on screen. And if you could just confirm for me, Laura, when it comes up.
Yeah, it's just come up.
But thank you very much. Like I said, welcome everybody to this afternoon's webinar in relation to the introduction of the CPCS Renewal CPD, which is going to be replacing the CPCS Renewal Test. Part of today's session, as I mentioned before, it's going to be recorded. There will be ample opportunity for questions. Now, if we could put these into the chat, and as we receive questions, I'll break during the presentations and I'll ask Laura to read the questions out, just so I won't be able to see them myself as I'm presenting. Part of today's session will be introduction to the CPCS Renewal CPD, a history and the need for the Renewal CPD, how the CPD is developed. We'll be going through some examples of the e-learning sessions, and we've got obviously confirmed the go live and transitional arrangements. We'll also be covering the NOCN hub and how to book from a candidate and employer's perspective. Like I mentioned before, during the session, I've got some live examples of what I can show you in relation to the hub and how to book, etc. So that will cause me to pause presenting at the time and then restart the presentation after the examples are finished. And as I said, there'll be ample time for questions. But if you do think of anything else following this presentation, my email address there is Paul Taylor. I'm head of card schemes. And we've also got the product at job cards, which goes into the product inbox, which is monitored by Charlie Skin and Laura Anderson, who is online today giving me some support. Okay, and if we go forward. So just to recap initially, the need for the renewal test initially was when CPCS was first introduced, it was an amalgamation of a number of existing card schemes. And when CPCS was introduced, there was a theory test element of the technical test. So to ensure going forward that all the other card schemes who were amalgamated CPCS had the same level of knowledge and understanding of the categories, it was decided to introduce a renewal test so that when each cardholder renewed, they could ensure that level of knowledge and understanding was demonstrated. And it was also to act as a reminder of safety critical elements relating to specific categories. Going forward, it is also a requirement of the plant sector representative organisation, the PSRO, to include a renewal element within any plant CSCS logoed card scheme, either as a knowledge refresher or an upgrade. And again, when the slide deck comes out, there is a link there to the PSRO competency. If for those who aren't sure what the PSRO stands for and what the remit is in requirement to card schemes. And also, since its introduction, the renewal test in the main has not been updated. So the original benefits of why it was introduced has actually reduced over the period. Excuse me, let's take a drink. So for those who, again, who are not fully familiar with the current test as was, The current CPCS renewal test consists of 15 questions taken from a larger bank of questions relating to specific categories. And it requires the reading and understanding of fact sheets as provided as part of revision material. In total, there's 26 grouped categories in the current list of CPCS renewal categories, and this has been designed really to reduce the number of tests each individual has to take based on their category. And another way of trying to reduce it is those cardholders requiring more than 5 category tests would have to purchase more than a single test. So it's increasing the cost depending on the categories you've got. Currently also delivered at a Pearson VUE test centre or independent internet test centres, some of which are CPCS centres, and in the main it is only available during office hours, requiring the need to leave site, enough parking, etc. And the way we identified which tests you needed to do, we used to utilise the renewal test tool, which an individual will complete, identifying the categories they hold, and then this in turn would then tell them what categories they would need to, which renewal test they would need to take, and the cost of the renewal tests. So it was, since we've moved from CITB, it's always been an important to try and review the renewal test as was. So we pulled a working group together. We identified a review of the learning content, question banks, etc. Is the test still delivering what it's expected to deliver? We identified the need to review the delivery model because the costs were increasing for the cardholders and the employers, and also listening to feedback. And as part of a review, we had to look at future proofing the changing requirements of CLC and CSCS. As by 2030, there is a potential mandated CPD to be introduced for all CSCS logoed card schemes. Excuse me a second. If we just take a step back and look at the cost model and the delivery model as is currently, we utilise Pearson VUE in the internet test centres. Currently, due to price increases for the invigilation of the renewal test, CPCS has found itself in a position where, because we're having to use the existing contract that was transferred from CITB, each CPCS renewal card we send out, NOC and CPCS job cards, is actually losing £4 per card, potentially rising up to £8 per card, based on the next price increases we were looking at. And obviously we felt this is something we couldn't pass on to the individuals or employers. So we've been sustaining that loss for quite some time. So as a result of looking at the current delivery test model as is now, we identified it would be best to remove the renewal test element, which is the biggest cost of the delivery model because of the invigilation, etc. We wanted to introduce a level of CPD learning modules in which included confirmation of learning question in each section. We wanted to change the delivery model to make it more accessible for individuals and employers, with the ability to book at a time and place which fits their work and lifestyle. The test itself, or the CPD, will be available via the NOCN hub to CPCS accredited test centres and ITCs as part of a package of training that they can offer. So if people are struggling with logging onto the hub or identifying and understanding the process, we will still allow ITCs and CPCS centres to deliver this on behalf of the individuals, where they can log onto the hub and purchase the test on their behalf and make use of their own IT equipment. Again, going forward, we will be monitoring this, because obviously what we do realise is obviously third parties do and can incur quite a high charge to the individuals going through a third party renewal process. So we will be keeping an eye on what centres are charging that going forward, and as long as the charges that we hear are not excessive, we will allow you to continue. And again, I can't set an exact fee of what we'd allow centres to charge, because obviously each centre would offer a different service each time. So it'd be hard for us to come up with a fixed fee, because some centres could actually be delivering the health safety environment test at the same time. So what is the CPD and what does it look like? The CPCS Renewal CPD is an online learning session designed to impart non-category specific knowledge and understanding which will benefit both the operator and the employer. Each module includes topics such as exclusion zones, people-plant interface, eco-operator, environmental awareness, etc. As I mentioned before, at the end of each topic, there is a set of several questions which the individual has the opportunity to answer as a multiple choice, and if they select the wrong answer, the system will tell them the right answer. They'll tell them that the response was incorrect, and they'll be provided with the correct information. As I mentioned, this is not a pass-fail test. It is literally just an e-learning module. I do apologise, the air conditioning in this room's affecting me at the moment. And as a development, we ensured that all categories fell into one of 5 modules, which are as follows. Just leave that up for a second. So to identify which module you will need to be required to undertake, we're utilising the renewal test tool. Again, all the individual will just go on there, click, identify which categories they hold, and it'll tell them which one or which multiples of the 5 modules they'll be required to take. Should a person be required to do 2 modules, i.e. such as earth moving and compaction and lifting equipment and lifting, it's still only one price, very much like the old renewal test tool, where if you had to have 5 tests, it would still be one price. So again, it's not per module, it's priced as a whole, if you'll, excuse me. Is there any questions at the moment, Laura? Anyone asking any questions at the minute?
No questions currently. Oh, somebody's
Thank you very much.
Oh,
I've got a
hand up, but I can't. We can't actually hear anybody on these chats. So you will need to write it into the chat.
Let me try and allow your mic, Terry. Just see if you can try and speak, Terry. Click on your microphone icon and try and speak. See if we can hear you. Just allowed your microphone. So yeah, if you just try and type. No, I'm not getting you. Sorry.
I think if Terry can just type his question into the chat.
All right.
In a moment.
Let's just give Terry a second before I drop out of the presentation and start showing an example of what an e-learning module looks like. While Terry's writing that, what I'll do, I will show an example of. I will stop presenting for a second. Share with sound, just so you can see an example. And again, as part of. It's not allowing me to include sound, just bear me a second, some of the technical issue.
I can see that on the front.
Can you see that on screen there, Laura? Yeah. So I do apologise. I have to look at a different screen to start it. So again, with this example, it's very much like the health, safety, environment test. The individuals will not be able to skip through it, but they have to complete the whole of the module in order to complete the learning.
Terry's questions just come through, Paul.
We'll try that before I start.
Yeah. Can you sit this test at home as well as the health and safety test?
Yes, you can, and that's the whole idea, is as well as because we've removed the testing elements and the invigilation requirements from this platform, this is actually available to be completed on any phone or any device connected to the internet, Android, Apple phones, etc. So you can actually drop in and out as and when they need to. And again, it's just to add that flexibility of delivery for the individuals. And again, as we'll show later on, it can be booked on behalf of individuals by employers and invoiced through that method. I'll just check with Laura in a moment if sound's coming through, because I was having difficulties trying to get the sound on.
Exclusion zone management.
Yeah, got it.
Many accidents occur with mobile because
Haven't got it now. I think you've turned it down.
Let me pause that. I'll stop sharing just so you can hear the sound because it is got a voiceover. I'll try and share again. I'm not getting the sound today. I'll just have to try and talk through it as it goes through. But so basically what happens is when the person logs on to undertake the e-learning, they'll click start. And as you can see down the left-hand side, there's some topic areas. Each section does have a voiceover. So as the text appears, there is a voiceover. Unfortunately, I can't get that playing for you at this moment in time because I'm trying to share let me share it via Teams. But it requires the individuals to click on each.
on site to facilitate safe pedestrian movement.
Turn the sound up on the TV.
Pedestrian routes should be segregated from mobile plant and vehicles, either by a safe distance or by physical barriers. Excavations should be flexible otherwise guarded. Barriers that are segregating a working area should only be removed from the plant or exiting the working area immediately.
I think it's trying to pick it up through your laptop, potentially, Paul.
Yeah, I'll try to turn the sound up to see if that'd help. But like I say, the individuals, when they undertake this e-learning, will not be able to skip through this. So once that section's finished, the next button will appear. They'll click next. At the end of, like I said, at the end of each section, there's some confirmatory questions. So I'll just pick an answer at random, see, and it'll tell me I've got the incorrect response. And then I can click continue to the next question. Again, just pick one at random. Again, incorrect. And then once they've answered that question, it takes them to the next section.
Various items of plant have blind spots. A blind spot is an area that the operator cannot naturally see due to machine components obstructing the line of sight. Spots can change when the machine is configured differently. For example, blades or buckets can be positioned differently, altering the line of sight. Remember, if you can't see the operator, they can't see you. Warning. When self-propelled mobile work equipment is used in the dark or in reduced visibility, lights must be fitted and used to enable the work area to be adequately illuminated.
So as you can see from this one, even though this was originally development platform, things have moved on. So all the locks there are preventing me from jumping through to the end. So it is now ready for going live tomorrow morning. So I have to actually, even on this development platform, I have to work through it.
Managing blind spots. Construction plant machinery should never travel on pedestrian walkways unless alternative routes for pedestrians have been provided. Particular care must be taken in situations when plant that can rotate through 360 degrees is being used, and working in confined areas or adjacent to structures where anyone walking between the machine and structure could be crushed. All-round visibility. Accidents involving mobile work equipment and pedestrians frequently involve poor visibility. Current standards aim to ensure that the operator of the plant or vehicle has all-round vision from the operating position. Therefore, where this is not possible, consideration should be given to providing a competent, qualified vehicle marshaller working exclusively with the plant operator and implementing exclusion zones to prevent unauthorized access into any danger zones.
So from that, rather than have you sit through this, what I'll try and do is have that going in the background so I can get to the end of this example. Because at the end of the actual e-learning session itself, there is an actual wash-up session, a wash-up page. So as the individual works through the e-learning and answers the questions, you get to an end page. Kevin's just asked a question, how long is each presentation? So it's one of the things I'm going to come to. So each presentation itself lasts for 30 to 40 minutes of each module. So again, the maximum time you would have to allow for this for an individual is about a maximum 50 minutes, and that's per module to work through.
Cool. I think it's still trying to pick up the sound through.
Yeah, I'm going to try and
just
turn that off completely. Yeah, so I do apologise. Technology it worked before, but not today. Let me get back to the presentation. Stop that. Why is it not coming up again? Is that presenting yet, Laura? Can you see that on screen?
Nothing yet.
Right, should be coming now.
Yeah, got the presentation from the beginning again.
Do I have to move offices? Right, let me get back to where we were. So we were actually at this point. Right, so that was just a brief explanation or a brief in look at what the e-learning looks like. And as I said, normally before they've actually locked it, the development team have locked it, I was able to skip through so you could actually see what the end page looks like. Once the individual gets to the end page, they'll be provided with the information to say, yes, it's now complete. You can now complete your online renewal card application form as long as you've completed and achieved the health safety environment test, whichever route you take. Now, again, the individuals can still, and we will still accept the Pearson VUE CITB health safety environment test. So that is still accepted by CPCS. There's no plans for us to stop accepting that. But again, if the individuals just hold CPCS cards, they can actually utilise the NOCN health safety environment test access via the hub, which I'll explain shortly of how to do that. Following its initial release tomorrow morning, goes live at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Following its initial release, the working group will reconvene to look at the feedback we're getting from the e-learning modules. And in the future development, we can actually then decide if we wish to add further topics to specific categories or add additional learning. And the idea of the learning at the moment is to add benefit to the employer and the individual with their day-to-day activities. We've also released a revised logbook. It's an online logbook, which will now start to be required. It's not mandated for renewal at the moment, but in the very near future, it will be required, mandated for renewal. And again, that's accessible via the hub, which I'll show you shortly. And again, the idea is really to start linking the online presence to allow the individuals to have more control over the renewal aspect. Again, from a logbook perspective, in this initial release, it's self-certification. So if I could actually log some details into the logbook, and I can then just self-certify, and it builds up my CV for me. In its next release, when I submit that activity will be sent to the nominated person I've nominated to validate my hours and experience. That person will receive an email, and within the email with a link and the details of what the activity is, and the individual just has to click yes, confirm that it's validated as genuine hours, etc. But I said that's in the next sort of release. And again, by utilizing the online and moving forward to digital, we can actually allows us to work better with individuals. So as we increase and develop the e-learning module platform, we can actually then start to make the CPD specific to the individual and the categories they hold. Because in this first initial release, a lot of the topics within the e-learning modules are very similar. So the idea would be then in the next development, we could then start taking that out and making it more bespoke to the individual. So if they've undertaken one topic in one module, then that wouldn't be required in the next module that they undertake. Sorry, Laura, did we just get a question raised then? Sorry.
We did, yeah. So can this route be completed if the operative doesn't have a logbook?
Sorry, Laurie, just.
So can this route be completed if the operative doesn't have a logbook?
Yeah, so at this moment in time, there's no, like I said before, there's no mandated requirement for logbooks to be completed. We will just continue to if we require, we can request a logbook from people, and that was always the case with CPCS, that we always operated as a 10% sampling process. But moving forward, once we get into the second phase of the logbook, online logbook, and it becomes more of a validated process with employers and supervisors, etc., then we'll start then looking to re-emphasising the requirement for this to be completed going forward. In addition, there's no initial decision made to remove the paper version, the downloadable paper version from the website. So if you don't want to use the online logbook, you can still download the existing logbook from the website and complete it. By moving things online, it just allows us to be a bit more reactive, a bit more quicker, and allows the renewal process to be a lot more slicker for people, as everything can be checked online and it's very simple and straightforward. And again, it also removes the possibility of logbooks getting lost in the post, etc., when we request logbooks.
Can I just add that
yes,
operatives can also do the practical test or on-site assessment in lieu of a logbook as well. So
yeah,
there is still that option as well.
Remaining. That's still remaining, yeah. So again, as we move things forward, the logbook will be linked to the blue card renewal. So again, once a person's hit 300 hours per category in the logbook, the system will green light that. And if they submit an application, then that will allow that to be renewed. What won't happen is the operators won't see the logbook go back to zero. Effectively, their logbooks will continue to record their hours and experiences that they put into the logbook. On our system, it'll go back to zero once they've renewed that card. So again, we'll be looking in the next five-year period for the required hours. In addition, in phase 2 of the logbook, we are looking and working with employers at the moment to API information into the logbook both ways. And again, an individual will be able to download a CSV and print off their logbook as a CV. And we're doing a lot more integration development on that side. So just to remind everybody, the actual test itself, Pearson View's last test is today, and we go live with the CPD renewal at 8 AM tomorrow morning on the 22nd. And just to reiterate, the test can be booked online by an employer or an individual. They can book it to take the test whenever and what time suits themselves and what location. And it's only in any device that's connected to the internet. And like I said, there's no test, there's no pass-fail scenario within this. What I'll show you soon is how a person logs into the logbook and obviously some of the security features that are attached to this process. And just some of the transitional periods. So what we've done today as well, we stopped allowing people to book the renewal test earlier this week. And those people who have booked a renewal test on the NOCN hub, they've now been transferred to CPD. So tomorrow morning, the test that they've purchased will automatically be transferred to the Renewal CPD, and they'll be allowed to then start taking that CPD. Any individuals who are required to purchase more than one renewal test because of the number of categories they've had, they'll be getting a refund through the NOCN hub. And again, as I said before, any internet test centre can offer this as part of a service package by registering on the hub as an employer. And obviously, like I said before, monitoring of this will be undertaken. So if we start getting complaints of overcharging, then obviously we can discuss this with the centres and see if we can rectify what's being charged. Again, I can't put an exact figure on what we would deem to be excessive, because obviously some centres offer this as a different package, if you will. But obviously, anything that would be deemed to be excessive, we can take action against that access to the NOCN hub.
Just to let you know, Paul, I've just added the hub link into the chat. So, Terry was asking what's the address where they can book it. It's through the hub. So I've just added the hub link into the chat.
Yeah, it's sort of the next sort of development of what I'm going through. So the next few slides of what I'm going to show you is related to the hub itself. And then once I've got so far, I'll actually be able to go to the live system and currently where we are now, so I can show the security aspects around logging into the hub. Hugh Jones. Did Hugh just asking a question, Laura?
Hugh did. Does the automatic transfer to the CPD also apply to those who may have failed a renewal test last week and need to resit?
So if they failed a renewal test, they would need to resit. But what it would do is they would only be able to book the CPD going forward. But obviously, if they've already booked a renewal, a retest, that would then transfer to the CPD. There's a question here. So the NLCN hub, again, let's say we'll send out this slide deck, and as you can see, there's links within the slide deck. But effectively, if you use the NLCN group website, at the top right of the screen, you'll have a tab which is called Systems, and within Systems, when that expands, the drop-down option, the NLCN hub link will be in that as well. And again, if you go from, so you have to forgive me, this slide deck was put together when a couple of days ago, so obviously it still refers to booking the test, but it does now, which I'll show you the live version. Within the NLCN job cards page, there is a bit about renewing, booking your test, and within there's links to the hub within that element. So what I'll do, so once you've created an account on the hub and you wish to access the hub, normally you've got two options. As an employer or a learner, we are requesting this to be changed to employer stroke centre and learner stroke card holder or operator. So that'll be done in the next 24 hours. So you'll be able to see that, and it helps to people to identify what account they should be logging up for. And when you create an account as an individual, the smart technology behind the platform basically asks you questions relating to your previous categories that you've held. So if you held a category, it will ask you where was your test taken, etc., and things like that only you would know. So it's very hard to actually duplicate it or create that. Again, if the person doesn't know or can't answer the questions that are posed as part of the security measures, then they can contact us directly and we can set up an account and via another method, which has got different security questions attached to it. So once you've created an account and you want to log back into it, it'll basically take you to this page where you just enter your email address and your password. You press login, and what will happen is a 6-digit code will be sent to your email address, which you've then got to enter to be able to then access the hub. Once you get to the hub, you'll be presented with a dashboard, and again I will switch shortly to the live version so you can see actually how it looks, because again these were taken a few days ago, so it still refers to the renewal test, etc. So within there you'll have a course test catalogue, blue card renewal, my logbook, your learning dashboard, and your e-certificate. Now the e-dashboard from an employer, if you went in there as an employer account within your learner's dashboard, you'll be able to see what tests you've booked on behalf of your learners and what progression they've made to achieving that. And when you book a test on behalf of an individual, they will receive a link within an email. Now, again, if they've got an account already, they just log into that account and they'll be able to access the learning or test which has been purchased for them. Or they'd then be required to create an account. But again, this is what I've said before about as an employer or a centre. This is what you can do as a service provision to help people who are not fully IT confident. Once you've got onto the hub, you'll be then, if you click on the course test categories, it will then tell you the courses available to you to book. So you've got the health, safety, environment test and the renewal test. So you'd pick whichever. In this case, you'd select renewal test. This would then take you through to the renewal test tool. You identify the categories, and then you're then able to it'll tell you which modules you need to do. And again, as I mentioned before, this refers to the renewal test, as I created this slide deck a couple of days ago, where I know now this has actually changed now. Do you have a question, Laura?
We do. Are you able to register with a shared email address, or does it have to be an individual as an employer?
What unfortunately, because a lot of security measures around the individual email address, it would have to be the individual's email address. But if you were an employer booking on behalf of people as an admin, then obviously you could then utilise that as an individual. As it's if the training department's requirement, a number of people could use the same login details because you're not actually taking the learning or test, you're just booking it on behalf of somebody else.
And another question, how can a company pay
Yeah.
by invoice, or is it only payment by credit card?
Yes, so up until today, it was normally a pay on demand, so you had to have a credit card. But as from tomorrow morning, add to invoice function will be available via the hub. So as an employer, you'll be able to, if you haven't got an account with NOCN existingly as an existing customer, you will then be able to apply for an account, and one will be set up for yourself. For all CPCS test centres, overnight tonight, you will all be issued with an account. So you'll be able to invoice and book on behalf of people and add to invoice automatically. That's being done on your behalf overnight tonight. And that's been done because we've just set it up this afternoon. So we just give all the lists of emails across. Or if it's not done by first thing tomorrow, it'll be done very soon. So once they've identified which course you had, which modules they're going to have to take, then they'd be shown how to book and pay for this. What I'll do, I'll skip through them slides because again, it refers to the renewal test and the Pearson view options and booking the different tests, etc. That's Kevin.
Yeah,
Kevin got a question, Laura?
Am I right in saying the health, safety and environment test still has a pass-fail? Is a pass-fail test?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, because what we've got to remember is that the health, safety, environment test is a requirement of CSCS to hold the CSCS logoed card. So therefore, all the relevant security measures and invigilation, it still remains for the health, safety, environment test. However, because the renewal test, renewal CPD, is a scheme requirement at this moment, then we can decide what level of security we can apply to this process. And what I'm just showing you on slide at the moment is, again, from an employer's perspective, this is sort of the visuals that you'll be able to see as an employer. So you'll be able to then see be able to click on one of the tiles and see what the progression. So again, you click on your learner dashboard and it'll tell you where people are in relation to the test that you booked for them. What I'll do is I'll just normally that will be the end of the presentation, but what I want to do is just drop out of this at the moment. If I stop presenting, I can show you the actual live of what it looks like now. If you just bear me a second, then we need to go to another screen. Got my desktop showing, Laura?
Yeah, your desktop showing.
Yeah. So on my desktop, I have actually got the hub pinned to my taskbar, so I can open that up from there. This is hopefully, if it's going to let me do it now while I'm sharing my screen. Brought it up onto another screen, to be honest, so I'll just drag it across into, because I was logged in a moment ago, it's already, what I'll do is I'll log out so you can actually see the actual process of logging in again. So I've requested it from the hub, so it'll see it come up as there is the application. It'll play the one they use in a conference room, so there's screens on a different wall, sorry, so I'm looking in a different direction. So I'll select login, but that sends a pin now to my email address. What I want to do is just to show you my email address, so my inbox. Just have to open it up on my other screen. Just making sure it doesn't come up on the main screen. So that has actually sent an email. I've just received the email. It's very quick, to be honest. I've already. That's the sort of view of the code. So that's the email I received for the code. What I can do is just do that. Go back to the hub. But that's then taking me back into the live version of Know the Hub. So as I can go into the course, so it's now listed here, CPD renewal, but again, it's grayed out, so I can't book it until tomorrow morning. And that's effectively what would happen. So you just go in there either as an individual or as an employer. As an employee, you'd be selecting add to invoice. And then that way you'd receive an invoice at the 30-day terms at the moment, of which NOCN currently work at and CPCS centres currently work at. Let me go back to the dashboard. So again, my learner dashboard, I could click in there and then that would show me any tests that I've purchased and I can then access them to that learning or tests. There's a blue card renewal, so once I've completed my modules, I can then click into that and that will allow me to complete my online application form. And any certificates for any of the courses that I've done with NOCN will be in within this tile. And with the logbook, again, it's just click on the logbook and it should hold some of the other events that I've already just registered. And it's very quick to register an event. And like I say, you can then have a click on it and download it as a CSV file, view it, your activities, etc. So if you wanted to log a new event, it's very simple. You just click the link. You have to work through each of these. It won't let you submit it unless all mandatory fields are done. But like I said before, when we get to the phase 2 of this logbook, I would have to nominate a validator who would validate my hours in my logbook. And when I click submit, that would email this report to that person to validate. But again, that's not in this form at the moment. It's all self-validating in this version, just trying to get people used to using it and trying to get the uptake to people to use this logbook. But that really covers the actual presentation at the moment. Like I said, it is available as a webinar. Again, within this slide deck, there will be a link to the previous webinar, and obviously this one will be available as well. But is there any questions that people like to ask at the moment?
There is another question in the chat from Eddie. I take it every candidate must have an email address to renew.
Yes, it's part of the security aspect, because even if you're an employer, you could actually say, right, issue your individual with an email account or an email address. If you actually had that person in your offices, you'd need that email address to get the 6-digit PIN number to be able to access the hub on their behalf to then get them set up to do the e-learning. Very similar to the health safety environment test at the moment.
The only question in there at the moment.
Is there anything else from anyone else?
Yeah, Katie's just messaged. Can you explain how the candidate receives the module if it is booked on their behalf? Will they receive an email with a link?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. If you'll be booking it on behalf of an individual, and as an employee, you'll be required to put in the email address that you wish the link to go to. That person then will receive an email with a link within the email, which they then click and have create an account, or if they already have an account, they'll be able to access the learning or test purchased on their behalf. Just thinking of something else then. Anything from anyone else?
No, that's it so far.
Like I said, what we'll do is within the registration or email that this webinar link was attached, there is a webinar link within that one. And also what we'll do is we'll get this slide deck out to all the people we've invited to this webinar, and also get the recording out to them. One thing I will confirm is that once a person has completed this, they will not necessarily get an email. What they'll do is they'll get an existing message at the end of the module to say the module has been completed, now complete the online application form. And also the completion of the module will show up in Card Checker. If people wanted to check that they've done the modules as part of their renewal, then it will show up in Card Checker as well.
Kevin's just asked, is there a requirement to have a laptop phone with a camera?
No, as I said before, because there's no invigilation aspect as part of the CPD renewal, there's no requirement for when we will not be video recording or taking pictures of the person sat in front of the computer. The idea of the security level is that very much like the bank accounts, where if I was to pass my bank account details to somebody, to my login details to my online banking, it's not checking that it's me actually logging in. It normally does the two-stage verification, which we've done with this system. So if I log in, someone doesn't access my account with my email and my user password, they still have to receive that 6-digit PIN to then be able to access it again. So therefore, if people wish to pass that, that's a level of fraud we'd have to look at in the future if it was becoming a problem. But I said for the health safety environment test, it's because it's a CPCS requirement, it has to be fully invigilated and fully recorded, and it's 100% ID checked for the health safety environment test. So when they undertake the NOCN version, they have to show their ID to the card, and the system checks that against the image that's within the camera on the test platform. Any question? Any more questions?
At the moment. Oh, Terry's just come back with,
So
so the health, safety and environment test can be done at home without any security checks or cameras.
No, like I said before, Terry, the second half of my previous question, the non-camera aspect only relates to the CPD renewal. If you were doing the health safety environment test, then you have to have the device with the cameras because it's 100% ID checked and record and review aspect to that. So because it's a CPCS requirement, it has to meet the security requirements. Whereas the CPD renewal is a CPCS requirement, therefore it doesn't have to be as stringent on the security aspect, i.e. we don't have to see you sat there looking at your email, your e-learning. Again, if you wanted to pass them details to a third party to sit their course on your behalf, that's something we can't stop at this moment in time. And again, this is the reasons why if we were to bring that into the CPD element for future, then that would add a significant cost to actually undertaking the renewal CPD. And one of the reasons for introducing the renewal CPD rather than a test is to try and future-proof the system in relation to the CLC CPCS requirements that by 2030, all CPCS card schemes will have to have some form of CPD within them.
Can I just also add for the
Yep.
health and safety test that although a camera is required for it, for ours it has to be done on a laptop or a desktop with a camera, not
Yeah.
a phone or a tablet.
Mhm.
Whereas the CPD can be done on any device that has connection to the internet. So onto that, from that, Tammy's just asked, what's the process at the end of the CPD? Do the candidates need to do an online application or can they still complete the paper application?
Either or. The online application is available for them to complete if they so wish, or if it's an employer doing this on behalf of an individual or a centre doing this on behalf, they can still submit a paper application as well. Any other questions from anyone? Like I said before, if you do think of anything after the presentation's finished, by all means, please drop myself an email at paul.taylor@nocn.org.uk or the CPCS product. What I can do is just share that page for yourself. So if you wanted to take a picture, a screenshot.
There is another question in the questions and answer area. Of the 5 modules, what is the minimal number that would need to be completed to satisfy the CPD?
It's literally linked to what I'll do is I'll show the presentation just so we can go through the check again. So on this screen that I'm showing now, just check this come up, Laura. Has it come up on your screen?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. So again, depending on what categories you have would depend on how many modules you'll be required to do. But again, even if in the worst case scenario you're required to do all 5 modules, it still only costs £28. There's no additional fee per module. It's one fee covers all 5 modules if that's required. If you're only required to do one module based on the categories you have, then that's the price. It's just the one price for all. I hope that helps, answers. Again, just to confirm, if people wanted to take a screenshot, that's the email address for myself and for products if you think of any other questions. but also on that page there's a link there. When you get the slide deck, that's the link to the previous webinar that we produced for this session. So is that another one from Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin has just asked another question. Is the health, safety and environmental test still a requirement for the first time CPCS test? I'm guessing what they mean for the
yes,
first
it
ever
will be.
card
Yeah,
test.
yeah, it will be. Because it's a CSCS requirement that has to be met before I can issue a card with CSCS on it. If you wanted to use the CPCS non-CSCS logoed card scheme, then that's a different matter. But that's another story for another day. But yeah. Anything else from anyone else?
Not at the moment. Good.
But yeah, rather than keep everyone hanging on, if there's no further questions, I'll terminate the session there. But again, as I said, if you wanted to jot down the email addresses on screen at the moment, by all means, please drop us an email and we'll respond to yourselves. All it leaves me is thank you for your time and your support for the scheme. Like I say, any question by all means, ask me at any time. And again, just appreciate the time you've given us to go through this webinar. And on that, I can terminate. What we'll do is once we've terminated, as soon as I can, I will get the slide deck and a link sent out to all those people who were emailed as part of this webinar, so they'll be able to see these the information we've provided today. But if there's no more further questions, we'll terminate there. And thank you very much for your time. People are just starting to drop off now. First time I've had the love art come up. Thank you very much for that. Dropping off.